All right. We finally got set up.
Yay!
We're ready to go. Everybody, welcome. This is Hope with the Hopeful Spirit and Francisca with Breathe, Connect, Thrive. She's in Houston. I'm so excited for her to be here. We had a conversation a while ago, and then I'm just finally getting my shit together enough to start this stuff again. So what I like to do first is for you to kind of explain what you do. If you want to do that first.
Of course.
Do that first.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I'm so happy that I was able to visit your beautiful studio and also able to come out to Old Town Spring. I've never been here before, so it's really a beautiful place to visit. Yeah, as you said, my name is Francisca and I'm the owner of Breathe, Connect, Thrive. It's a healing studio in Houston where I help people breathe through their emotions with Conscious Connected Breathwork. I help people restore their mind, body, and soul with Restorative Yoga, and then I help people find some clarity with tarot. I also do Reiki and aromatherapy, but the bulk of what I like to do is breathwork, tarot, and Restorative Yoga.
Okay, that seems like a lot, because I know, like in this new age world that we are, it can branch off into much deeper services than that.
Yeah.
What do you feel like in your business is thriving the most? Like which part of it?
That's a difficult question to answer, because what I feel like where I feel people thrive the most is breath work. Mm-hmm. That's where I think people kind of can, like I said, breathe through their emotions and can find a sense of clarity, a renewed sense of connection. And I feel like that, in essence, is the Breathe, Connect, Thrive. However, I feel like people also love the Restorative Yoga. They love that aspect of kind of, especially after a long day, like just letting things go, releasing the experience of the day, and really melting into a supportive pose. But I feel people thrive most with conscious connected breathing.
Yes, I actually noticed too, so COVID shifted the amount of people wanting to do like really hardcore yoga, like the very physical, into the more restorative versions of yoga. Like, I just need yin so much, like, and so yeah, it's the same for me. They just need to relax, you know, like you said, let it go. So we have this beautiful setup here. We're gonna do a reading. And but first, I wanted to talk a little bit about you.
Yeah, of course. I love talking about myself.
I wanted to kind of find out what called you to want to do this kind of work. And maybe a little bit of background information about like kind of where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'd love to kind of go back in time to talk about what brought me into this work, because had you known me back even in 2017, we might have been having a conversation about tarot, we might have been having a conversation about spirituality, but I probably would have been drunk and high.
I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, so I would say that back then, pre-December 2017, I was pretty much lost. And I didn't believe that there was a purpose in anything. I didn't believe that I had a purpose. I was questioning a lot of things, and so I just asked, like, out there in the world, like, what's my purpose? What's the purpose of anything? And I didn't get a response, and because I didn't get a response, I didn't think that there was anything to life, that there was anything to me. So I was just partying and drinking and trying to numb all the feelings that I had. I was very highly functional, so I held a full-time job as an office manager, but I was drunk all the time. In the background, I was pretty much smoking pot since I was 12 years old, and I was doing coke. And so that didn't in itself lead to health issues. It was the not paying attention to my body that led to some health issues. And so I nearly bled to death, like literally, and had to get my uterus removed. Yeah, and so I had uterine fibroids. I was again, drinking a lot. I was doing lots of drugs and just not taking care of my body, not listening, literally not listening to my heart beating in my ears, literally not listening to my body, still trying to smoke pot when I couldn't breathe, still trying to go out and party when I could barely walk 50 feet without getting winded. And so things kind of came to a head in December of 2017. It was 2 days after Christmas, and I had had some time off of work, and I'm laying in bed, and I can hear my heartbeat in my ears. I was having a hard time breathing, even though I was laying in bed, trying to decide, do I get up and die outside while walking the dog, or do I go to work and die there? Because for the first time since I'd been having health issues, I started seeing like black spots, and not just black spots, but like black, just black, like I couldn't see anything. And so I knew something was happening in my body, but I was just like, where do I die?
That's dark.
And yeah, pretty much. And I didn't want to die at home because I was like a little worried that my dog was going to eat me. But I was also more worried that my family would find me there, and in the state that they would find my house, because it was just really dirty. There was Coke baggies all over. I had already actually stopped doing Coke a month before, but there was still remnants of that. There was beer cans, bottles everywhere. And so, I went to the hospital, and I almost didn't go, but something kind of turned my head when I was getting ready to leave the parking lot, because I saw a parking spot that was really close to the elevator. And I was like, okay, if I could get to the elevator, then I can get to the emergency room. Then they can tell me what's going on. I thought it was all from doing the drugs, but it was actually because I was bleeding to death. So once I got a blood transfusion, because I had to get 6 pints of blood pumped into me, and once I got that, I felt like I was 30 again. I was like, oh my God, like I feel so young. Like I feel like, this is the way your body should feel. And then after that, I was like, okay, now I needed to get a surgery in February. And then I was just like, okay, something has to change. Like the sequence of events that led me to get into the hospital, I felt literally like somebody was turning my head to that parking spot. The night before I almost died, we were making, or 2 nights before I almost died, we were making gingerbread cookies or gingerbread houses at my mother's house, and I could swear that I felt somebody tap my head like this. My nephew, who was probably about 5 years old at the time, started laughing because I felt somebody run behind me, and he was laughing, and he's like, oh, somebody pushed your head right when I felt that. And I was like, was it the person that gave me this? And so this is a necklace that my dad gave my mom, and my mom eventually gave to me. But I don't feel like any of that was an accident. I feel like that was all divinely guided, and I honestly feel like my dad was there helping me to kind of get into the emergency room. So had the surgery in February of 2018. I've been following lots of stuff, listening to different coaches, listening to different podcasts. Like I said, I was into tarot, I was into the spirituality stuff, I was into numerology, but I was still out there kind of lost. And then I started meditating daily, because I had already been meditating. But after the surgery, I had so much time to sit and be and feel and think, and it was time that I hadn't given myself. And I was running around doing everything for everybody else, not listening to myself. So I started listening to myself. First thing that came to me was becoming a Reiki master. So I went and got my Reiki certification. Then I went through career coaching, which really helped me to kind of listen to my intuition. Started taking my tarot work a little bit more seriously, stopped drinking in May of 2018, stopped smoking pot July 4th of 2018. And just every kind of step led the way. So first it was Reiki, then it was aromatherapy certification, then it was a yoga certification, then it was a meditation certification. And I thought that that's kind of where I would stay, like with like yoga, meditation, and that's kind of what I teach. But what happened was I found breathwork, And that is a whole nother story of synchronicity on its own, but I love to talk about that. But breathwork really changed the way that Conscious Connected Breathwork really changed the way that I view healing and all of these beautiful gifts that we have in life.
Yeah, so, well, breath work right now, especially, is super trendy.
Yeah.
And we even had like a short conversation before this interview about like a lot of people are chasing that high that they get from it, which is completely possible. But, that's hard for a practitioner who's trying to promote this in a healthy way. We're not trying to go from one addiction to another, right? We're trying to help ourselves at least become more balanced. Not, we talked, it's not going to always ever be balanced, but it kind of flows back and forth. So for you, like, how do you feel that breath work changed your life or helped you in this journey?
Yeah, like I said, I had already done all of this personal development stuff with the yoga, with the essential oils, with Reiki and tarot, and I use tarot more as a self-discovery tool versus a fortune-telling tool. And so I'd already done a lot of work on myself before I found breath work. And the first time that I went to do breath work, it was like I left my body. It was this euphoric out-of-body experience where I felt my father who had passed away. I felt ancestors. I felt just like everything. At that time, I didn't believe in angels, but I felt, this connection with God, source, spirit, the universe, all that is. I knew everything, and I knew that I knew nothing at the same time. And so that breathwork experience changed how I viewed life, and I knew that that's why I was here, was that breathwork session. So the teacher that I had that led the breathwork practice did not teach the type of breathwork that she showed us, which is transformational integrative breathing. And I was like, I have to learn this. Like, I knew in my heart and soul that I had to learn this. I knew that this is why I was here. I knew that every point that I had been through so far was leading up to that breathwork session. I just knew it, like I got that message. And so I went to learn Conscious Connected Breathing, which on Paul Crimi in Los Angeles. That is so different than what I had experienced with the integrative breath. In the transformational breath, again, I felt love, I felt connection to source, God, the universe, and I felt my sense of purpose come into me, like it was just given to me at that point. In the Conscious Connected Breathing, there was more emotional work that had to be done. And I was like, I've healed everything, like I'm good. But what came up for me in that teacher training was a 7-year-old wound that I had from a bad therapist. And this therapist was so bad that they were actually jailed.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and I was just like, wait a minute, this is actually what I'm here for. I'm here to do this emotional work. I'm here to help people breathe through their emotions and heal, not to help people have an out-of-body experience, not to help people leave this experience, because we're humans having this human experience, right? We're here, we're humans, right? But more deep underneath that, we're souls, and our souls are here for a purpose. And if I'm helping people kind of get out of their body, that defeats the purpose of the human experience. We're here to experience.
That's a good point. Like, yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
If you're not experiencing life, if you're not experiencing this pain, if you're not experiencing the grief, if you're not experiencing the euphoria, if you're not experiencing the joy, if you're not experiencing the contrast, then you're not a human, because we are pretty much the only beings that can experience the things that we're experiencing. Otherwise, you don't have a physical body. Otherwise, you're in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And we're here to experience it.
Yeah.
And when I realized that I could heal certain things, that old shit that I didn't even know was carrying around with me, that's when the realization of this purpose came to came full circle for me. And I've used breath work in so many different ways, but most recently to heal from my mother's death in January of last year. You know, pain is, especially in the spiritual realm, the spiritual world, and personal development world, people are like, you know, pain is bad, stress is bad, and too much is bad. And I wouldn't even say it's bad. Too much is, you know, not necessary. We don't need that much. But we do need the fear to move us and shift us into a different state of being. We do need the anger to point the way. We do need the stress to help get us up in the morning. Because,
it's like a signal to you, like, you need to change something.
Right.
Something needs to happen here.
Right.
Or, like, it's just a physical sensation to make you notice something.
Right. And if we're not experiencing that, if we're not feeling that, if we're not, and sometimes we don't even know we're carrying it around. And so that's what I feel breath work helps people do. Become aware of what's in your body first, and then let it out. Does it fix all of your problems? No, nothing does. Nothing ever will fix all of your problems. Nothing will ever heal every single bit of you. But it is this amazing tool that you can have in your back pocket that you can take 15 to 30 minutes, however much you need. Put on some music that you love. Put on some music that makes you feel grateful, emotional, and makes you feel motivated. Let the universe pick the songs for you. Put the playlist on. Put it on shuffle. Let the universe pick the songs for you. Pull a card before. See what comes up. Lay down. Breathe. Cry. Yell. Get it all out so it doesn't spill over to the rest of your life.
Right.
And go on about your day. That is why I love breath work. That is why I feel it's so transformational. That's why I believe it helps to take people from surviving into thriving.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as you talked about before, you were in a state of numbing yourself out, and I feel like that disconnection that we have is happening a lot, and that leads into a lot of these mental issues people are dealing with, especially depression and anxiety. We're checking out and numbing out, and breath work brings you back to your body because it makes you be in the present moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, yet it's so hard for people to understand. I don't get it. Like,
right.
It's and it takes practice. I get it. Like, we're pretty far disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's great. I feel exactly the same way about breath work. And I'm glad you clarified different breath work approaches do different things, because a lot of people don't understand, like, going into something, they're just going to try a bunch of things, and some things might happen in your body, like, that really change you, and you don't quite understand that. Maybe that's not the thing that you need to be doing at that time. Kind of like what you're like, this was not I needed that, but then I tried this other one, and that's really what I needed to be in.
Yeah.
So I encourage you guys to continue to explore and try things.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because it's true. And I would even add another caveat to what you said. And the other thing that I would add to that is that just because you do one technique or one breathing method, and it gives you an experience or a sensation in your body, doesn't mean that it's always going to be repeated.
Right. That's a good point to make.
Breath work is subjective.
It's like chasing the dragon.
Right. It's subjective. And when I first started teaching breath work, I'm like, everybody's going to have this emotional response that I did, or everybody's going to have this feeling of euphoria. And it's not. I was meant to have that experience at the time that I had it because of divine intervention. I'm not going to say that it was something that will happen to everybody. And when I first started teaching breath work, I'm like, why aren't people crying? Why aren't they having this emotional response? Why aren't they having this euphoric response? Because even in Conscious Connected Breathwork, I have had almost the same out-of-body experience. And I say almost because it's not the same.
Yeah.
And it's just like thinking that you're going to get the same result doing this same technique every time, and that is not true. You get what you need out of breath work. Yep.
It's the same thing for energy work for me. Like, different people, different situations, different day, like my mood, their mood, like it could be the same person at a different time and it's completely different. And that's why I always say continue to explore and try these things, different people, different days, like maybe it just wasn't the day.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing goes for tarot. Like there's I actually kind of want to segue to that because I feel like I've had a love-hate relationship with tarot, and I think part of that is because of social media. Especially now, people try to jump on this bandwagon of like, I want to read for you and I want to do this, and it's superficial.
Yeah.
And so that kind of shied me away from doing that unless I know there's a right time and a right moment.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I want to be genuine to it's not a craft, but the connection that's happening with the people that I'm working with, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Talk to me or the audience a little bit about your experience with tarot, because you said I was listening to all these things and studying all these things, and talk to me about your experience moving into tarot.
Yeah, so actually I've been reading tarot since 2015, and that's when I was like pretty far gone. And I would do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, like when we're drunk.
Trying to get answers.
Yeah. Or trying to help people get answers. And the first time that I picked up a tarot deck came from a conversation with somebody that I worked with at the time. She's like, you're an empath. And I'm like, what's that? So I found out what an empath was, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense, right? But I didn't actually start reading tarot for people that I didn't know until I believe it was 2019. And I met somebody through this course that I was taking, and she was in Galveston, and I went out to meet her, and she's like, you're psychic, right? And I was like, I don't think so. And I still don't believe I'm a psychic or a medium. I just believe that we get energy information, and some of us are a little bit more adept to read that energy, or to be able to feel that energy, or to be able to hear or sense the energy. I'm more of a sensing, feeling kind of person. And so the way that I use tarot now versus the way that I used tarot back then is so different. I also use Oracle, which I didn't use before, so what we have laid in front of us are Oracle cards. So I feel like Oracle cards are more like this gentle, encouraging message from the universe, God, Source, Spirit, whatever it is that you call it, the great creator, all that is. And I feel like these are messages of encouragement, whereas tarot is a system, and each card means something specific, whatever tarot deck you get. The imagery may be different, but the message is still the same. Whereas with Oracle, the messages in the cards are created by the person who, the author of the cards. And so with tarot and Oracle, I use those as a self-discovery tool. What's going on right now in your life, and where can we maybe get some guidance moving forward? And I don't believe that our life is fixed. I believe that we have free will, and that is why I don't use tarot as a fortune-telling tool. I use that more as a, self-discovery tool. I feel like I can be a broken record when I start talking about tarot, because I
say that all the time.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that people understand that I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen in your future. I'm going to look at the cards and say, this is a story of what's going on right now at this time. Let's ask open-ended questions. What will it look like if? And still hold on to the fact that we are humans here with this human experience, with our souls, being the primary part of us. And our souls can help us direct ourselves, and I feel like this is also a way to connect to your soul. I feel like this is also a way to connect to who you are in the moment, and maybe future cast instead of like a weather forecast. There could be 20% chance of rain, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get caught in the rain.
Right.
This is just kind of looking at that and seeing what that might look like and what your energy might look like, and knowing that you always have the power to shift where you're going and shift what you're doing and pivot. Like, you always have a chance to pivot. Just listen to the voice inside of you. And for some people, using tarot or Oracle can give them a visual imagery of what's going on, and so their subconscious mind can kind of connect to that, or their conscious mind can connect to that. Yeah.
Sort of a therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the cards, and I'm glad you said that, because I try to relay that to all the people that I read for too, and anything that I've ever done online. And I think it's important to realize that you know, tarot has a bad rap, and it has a tradition, like you said, a system. And I like the fact that you use oracles. I also use oracles. So how would we talk? Let's do a reading.
Yeah, so I have a couple of deals with my cards, and so this is how I connect with them. And so my deal with the tarot is that I use the system that's provided with tarot. So if I get a 2 of Wands, I know what that means in any deck. However, I use the imagery along with the feelings that I'm getting and sensing from the session, right?
Okay.
With Oracle and the tarot, those are minds to touch, those are minds to lay out, those are minds to kind of deal. And every once in a while I'll let people point to them, kind of touch them, but typically the tarot cards are sacred to me, and so those carry my energy. Whereas with the Oracle, these cards are for any of my students or clients to go ahead and touch. So typically in a breathwork session, this is kind of like a full moon setup that I typically do. I'll have the mats laid out, and people get to kind of wave their hands over the cards and see which card has a message for them. With the Oracle, you get to read directly from the guidebook. Take whatever information is in there, and whatever resonates, great. Whatever doesn't, throw it away. It wasn't meant for you at this time. And so some of my favorite decks are laid out before us. So the Angel Guide Oracle deck from Kyle Gray. This is a really great deck with really encouraging messages from your angels. God is used often in that deck, the word God. Then you have the Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors Oracle, and this is Angels and Ancestors. This is a newer deck for me. We just opened it last new moon breathwork, which was really fun for us to open up a new deck and kind of play around with that one. Also, I feel really encouraging messages here. The Work Your Light by Rebecca Campbell. This is one of my first Oracle decks, and one of my favorites too. And I feel like that because the artwork on it is so different than what I would normally choose. But every time I kept going to check out the sample for this, I kept opening up the Oracle cards, and I kept getting the play card. So I feel like the universe was kind of helping me, you know, dive a little bit deeper into Oracle with this deck. And then the Sacred Creators Oracle deck by Chris Ann. I love Chris Ann's work. This is a really great deck to use for career and creativity. And so this book is a little worn because I use it a lot for career and creativity. But yeah, the way that I say to use Oracle, especially before a breathwork session, and even a Reiki session. So we do Oracle before Reiki or breathwork session, if you're open to it. And so what I'd say is kind of pick whichever deck is calling to you, lay them out or shuffle them, and then, you know, wave your hands over the deck. See where you have a message and go ahead and pull that out. So sometimes people can ask open-ended questions like, what will it look like if, you know, what do I need to know about, and those kinds of questions. Open-ended questions are really great to ask when you're doing tarot or oracle. Or you can just say, what guidance do I need today? What do I need to know in this moment? And then we would read from the guidebook.
Okay. I'm having a hard time choosing.
So sometimes it's just good to like kind of wave your hands, close your eyes, and wave.
Like this deck for sure, but I feel like, and you just want one card?
You can pull like one for each, or you can say like, what do I need to know about my life right now? Or what do I need to know about business?
I'm gonna go with life. I'm always asking about business.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go, what do I need to know about my life? Because this one, do you want it? And then I'd like to pull actually 3, is that okay?
Yes. I'm so excited. We had a conversation before.
Oh.
And I'm like really excited about the card that you just pulled. Oh my gosh.
Let's see this one.
I love this. Okay, so we just had a conversation, and you just look at those cards.
Oh, wow.
So we had a conversation before, and this is another reason that I love for people to pull their own oracle, because these are like, again, this is your subconscious rising. This is what's going on in your energy right now, and so you pulled Drum, Dream, and Journey, the Great Gathering. It's all coming together, intuitive hits, and Soul Tribe, and then Sacred Mirror. And I love that the Sacred Mirror number is 33. I love that. I love that. Okay, so what I typically do is in a session have people kind of choose which card they want to kind of get a reading on first. And sometimes people like me to do like use my own intuition, but I'll kind of let you direct it, which is again what I do in a session. Like, so I'm going to let you kind of tell me like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to take this journey? Because my intuition is great, but it works best for me. Your intuition is great because it works best for you. Everybody's intuition works best for them.
Right, right.
Yeah. So.
Well, you have the drum one, so you might as well.
I'm so excited because we had a conversation about this very thing, and I have no idea what this says. Yeah. Okay. Drum, Dream, and Journey. So the message for this card is journey inwards and uncover insights and information that will be important for your path. Then follow the guidance. About this card, in shamanic traditions, in all four corners of the world, the drum is recognized as the main tool used by medicine men and women to direct their will and in meditation. A drumbeat can become hypnotic and send those listening into an altered state and allow them to journey into the spiritual realms and meet their guides. When this drum card appears in a reading, there are opportunities for you to dream or to bring an inner vision into reality. The extended message: you are very connected to other worlds at this time. The wisdom and the intelligence of Earth and her magic surrounds you. The drum, which echoes the sound of the Mother Earth's heartbeat, has cleared the cobwebs and the dust from your inner vision. What have you seen in your dreams and inner vision that is not your imagination? It's guidance. Particularly if it's been coming to you repeatedly, it has the potential to become reality. Dreams come true, know it and live it.
Yeah, so we were talking about well, specifically business, but in my personal world I've been a drummer for many years, and I was trying to incorporate how to merge these worlds together. That's why she's excited, because we got to. So I guess maybe that I'm just not paying attention enough to that vision I've had for a while. I just don't know how. So maybe one of these things will help me answer that.
Yeah, and I also feel like, moreover, this is kind of encouragement that, you are on the right path, that, to listen deeply. And, I think another thing, if I'm using my intuition here, it's like really listen to those times where you can feel more like yourself. Because if the drums make you feel happy, maybe that's time that could be spent for you to kind of get back into your spiritual self.
It's a way for me to like make it move through me. That makes sense.
Yeah, no,
I was just telling him, telling him the other day that I came in here and the drums keep throwing themselves down.
They're asking
so
for
I'm like, the other day, like it ripped the one of the screws out, and I was like, let me take a picture of this because there's something going on here.
So when I stopped smoking pot, like I used to smoke sweets, which is like cigarillos wrapped in weed or weed wrapped in cigarillos, and I switched to papers, and because I didn't want to smoke tobacco anymore, and so I switched, and tobacco never agreed with me anyways, so I switched to papers, and I swear that last week they kept turning off. My joints would not stay lit. And I'm like, if this turns off one more time, and this is 4th of July, 2018, I am not going to smoke pot anymore. And it did. And I was like, okay, you're trying to tell me something.
Okay.
Sometimes the universe speaks to us in the ways that we can easily listen.
Mm-hmm.
The path of least resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, sometimes it takes, you know, a few tries for the universe to get its message across, but really what I feel like is happening is that our soul knows the best way to get to where our human body wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, you know, sometimes it's hard for us to listen, yeah. So this deck, I love it, and it's always not the easiest to find. The Great Gathering. So it's always not the easiest to find, but I will find it in a second here. Let's see. Okay, so it's page 96.
I love how this is very like runic too, the drum one.
Oh yeah.
Native American.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the Great Gathering, it's all coming together, intuitive hit, soul tribe. You are being called to let your intuition move you physically. You are connected to a group of souls who are weaving a web around the planet, and as you travel and share your creations, something is rethreaded. This card is acknowledgement that you are either being called to connect with others who are like you at a soul level, or that you already are. You are being called to gather groups of people, either by leading them or becoming part of a group that can support you and your soul's personal mission. You are a part of a group of souls who agreed to be here at this time in history to heal yourself, your ancestral line, and the planet, to raise consciousness so that we can continue to call this magnificent place home for eras to come. One of many consciously choosing to devote your life to something greater than yourself. It's time to call in your tribe by sharing your soul's voice and letting yourself be seen. When you share what is real and true to you, you share the medicine that you most need. Those who are like you will gather around you. You are your tribe. They are just like you. And just as they are longing and searching for you, you are longing and searching for them too. Work your light activation. So some of these cards have an activation that if you're open to it, you can take the card in your hand and hold it to your heart and then repeat this little thing. So if you're called to it, we can do it.
Okay, so take the card.
Mm-hmm. And then if you want, I can say it out loud, or you can just say it out loud.
I'll say it.
Okay.
I choose now to let myself be seen. I am ready to call in my soul tribe and create a web of light all over the planet. Yeah.
How does that feel?
Yeah. It's funny because that was the other thing that we were talking about.
That's why
doing these videos.
That's why I'm so happy, and I feel like this kind of resonates with the rest of the the cards that you chose. And again, like this is I've used this book way too many times, and I love that it's number 33. To me, that's a signifier of, like, you know, kind of angel stuff going on here. So what I love about this deck is that it has an essential meaning. So the meaning for the card, the self-care message, sometimes that essential meaning doesn't make sense, and it's got a whole, you know, paragraph or description about what this card means, and then it's got a couple of questions, this is really great to journal with. So the essential meaning: seeing the divinity in others, knowing more about yourself by sharing your gifts and talents, finding kindred souls on a similar path, collaborative opportunities, being seen, witnessing sacred evolution, connectedness, oneness, and your place among the stars. The self-care message is egoism, being overly bothered by traits in others, allowing someone to push your buttons, allowing another's journey to affect your self-worth, not recognizing the lessons that other people can give you. Sacred mirrors are all around. We are connected to other souls on this planet, and every single interaction, no matter how great or how tiny, can carry a message or a meaning. Just as you can only really understand the concept of light when you're when you've understood the concept of dark, so too can you only understand when you are when you really begin to see others. We see sameness in others. We see difference. And they offer us glimpses of our own true selves through their reflection. Look for a lesson as in the coming days, a sacred mirror that will refract and reverberate throughout your entire being and shed light onto your truest form. Sometimes mirrors can serve to teach us how unique we are because of the contrasting and opposite nature that they unveil. When another person thinks differently, use it to help you understand your own mind. Sometimes mirrors can serve to ignite something within us that we have long forgotten. I wish I could do that. I would love to be that brave. I desire that charisma. Is that possible for me? What have your mirrors been showing you lately? And where have you been acting on the information they're sending your way? Find solutions in these sacred reflections. And then the questions are, how are the people you've been spending time with mirrors of you? Do they make your life better? Explore opportunities to try new things and to take risks by communicating in a new way. Allow your community to be your mirror and to show you what works best.
Very on point with what's been happening lately.
Yeah, and that last line, allow your community to be a mirror and to show you what works best. We just had that conversation. Literally. Like, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if we were like in a session,
yes,
this gives you a lot of room for thought. Not only does it give you the clarity and the encouragement that, one, you're on the right path, that, we just need to listen a little bit deeply, and that, there's things that we can do, and that your voice is necessary in your case, and it needs to be heard, and that your soul's desire is at the core, at the center of maybe why some things are happening in your life. And then you would lay down and do some breath work, or we would lay down and do some Reiki, and it gives you this kind of point of focus. Not that necessarily your answers are going to come, but then after a breathwork session or after a Reiki session, then we'd pull another card or another series of cards.
I love the way that works.
Yeah, and then you see how your energy is shifted, right?
Yeah.
And so then, so you get to actually work this out in a breathwork session. And so this is why I love using these cards, and this is why I love to do this type of activity before and after a breathwork session.
That's really beautiful. Yeah. I love the fusion of that. You're doing it in a really I think effective way. Like it's something that I've like I said, dabbled with before, and allowing I just like that method. It just seems like it can really get deep into someone's psyche. Yeah. But also, like you have talked about before, allow them to feel the things that they feel about these things that are really going on in their lives right now. Keeping that, what's the script? Not the script, the story that's happening, right. So it doesn't have to be all like future casting and tell me what I got to do. This is really about exploration, discovery, and this is what we try to preach to you guys, is that it's what are you trying to find out as your soul purpose, or maybe you're stuck. That's something that's been resonating with a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I talk to, is they feel boxed in, they feel stagnant, they feel like they don't know where to go or where to even start. And so by using this method, this could be a great way for you to help discover more about what you're trying to figure out. Yeah, and I think this is also validation, right? Yeah. So especially my reading. Validation and encouragement, and it just happened too many times for me to not mention it. People, again, we need to see, and we need proof. And sometimes this can be the proof that you need. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that every reading resonates, because sometimes it doesn't make sense. And so sometimes we'll pull clarifiers. And so clarifiers can help to either amplify the message, or maybe give you the message in a different way, or let you know how this message relates to you.
But nothing is ever 100% like foolproof and works. And that's why I say, have an open mind, have an open heart, and see what comes up. See if this validates or encourages you to let you know that you're on the right path. And one of the things that you said, sometimes we're feeling stagnant or stuck. Sometimes that is necessary. Sometimes we do need that pause to help us kind of move forward. And who's to say that what we want is actually what's best for us anyways?
Yeah.
Sometimes what we want isn't the thing that's best for us. And I believe that the universe has this overarching view that we don't have that can deliver us what's in our heart's desire and the things we didn't even know that we wanted. Right? Because let's say, we had taken, a different path. Who's to say that it would have been better than what we have now? We just don't know. And we can't, like our human minds can't comprehend that. But, having, you pull your own cards and reading from the guidebook, I think gives us an extra layer of depth. And this keeps my intuition from kind of butting into what is going on in your personal self-discovery.
Yeah, definitely the way that I actually read intuitively too. And it's hard, so I'm glad you mentioned being open-minded and open heart, because you can block, when you go into a session with somebody, you can block these things from happening because you're not allowing yourself to, sometimes we just don't want to see it too. That's the other thing. These things will keep coming up. Same cards will be pulled, maybe a different card but the same message will keep coming up until you make a change, or you see what's happening in front of you, and that's what they do. They help open your eyes to something most of the time you already know, but you haven't taken action on. Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Great reading. On point with everything, and exactly what we had talked about before we even turned on the camera. So I think, and that's a testament for people who are very open-minded to these kind of things and intuitive, so it works well together. I'm not saying you have to know everything about cards, because that's sometimes can be very helpful if you don't know. You're seeing what the card is actually telling you, the story. So
yeah, and I love that you said that, because it is a story, right? We start off here with, and this is almost like kind of how our conversation went, right? We start off with, what's calling your heart, what do you actually know in this moment, what brings you in your center, what helps you feel this way, and then maybe going into the purpose of that, this greater purpose, the sense of purpose, the things that light you up are going to help other people find their way too, and then being able to use the sacred mirrors and knowing that we're all connected and seeing that journey. Because you don't have to know. Yeah,
and the language too, literally words that we said in the conversations that we were talking about. So, good stuff. Okay, I'm going to take pictures of these, put it in the video hopefully, and share more about that, and also do my own inner work with this stuff. I kind of wanted to move on to, I don't want to make the video too long, but talk just a touch about Reiki and energy work, because I'm sure if you've been through the journey that I have, you've had ups and downs. Talk to me about how you use energy work within your life or within your business.
Yeah, I feel like energy work is at the core of almost everything that I do. I feel like we used energy work here.
Oh yeah.
And so to me, I don't think it's that mysterious, to be honest. I feel like people kind of put this wall up of energy work is, I need it. And the truth is that you can do energy work for yourself. And I think that we're doing energy work all the time, to be honest with you.
Oh, yes.
For me, Reiki was kind of the gateway. It was the thing that helped open up my heart and helped me kind of feel something different. And in my first Reiki session, I felt almost like a weight was lifted off of my heart. And I remember my first Reiki session, she told me that I had a blockage in my sacral chakra, and so the reproductive organs are housed in that area, right? And so, yeah, I actually had to get my uterus removed. So Reiki has been like this kind of open, like the door that opened up my heart, kind of like this, you know. And so that's what I feel like happened to me in Reiki. Like there was this opening here in my heart center that led the way to all of these other things, that led the way to breath work, to where I am now. And energy work, I feel, is a way to help us clear and really kind of, again, get this validation of what's going on in our lives, in our everyday lives, what's going on in our energetic body, and how we can move through that. In a Reiki session, actually have not been doing a lot of one-on-one Reiki sessions lately. What it's been is it's been a fusion of Reiki and breath work and restorative yoga, or Reiki and tarot, because I feel like that is where my strength lies. My gifts are being able to sense and feel certain energies in people's bodies, but that doesn't make me special or any more special than anybody else. People have different gifts, and I feel like that's one of my greatest gifts. It's in person. It's, you know, doing things in that way. So we all have energetic bodies. This is where I believe that our physical representations happen. So I feel like what we have going on in our energy, if we're feeling heavy in our energy, we might be feeling heavy in other ways in our bodies. It can lead to, I think, physical manifestations if we're not taking care of our energetic self. Yeah, so how do you feel? Like, do you feel that you are like maybe stuck in some areas, kind of like we were talking about? Do you feel like you're
holding pain?
Yeah, holding
emotional trauma.
Yeah. So all of that, and I feel like all of that comes up in a breathwork session, and all that comes up in restorative yoga. I don't feel like we give ourselves enough credit, and I feel like that's our intuition talking to us, is through our physical body. And sometimes when we can't hear that energetic part of us, that part of us that is the deeper self, you know, if we can sit back and listen to our soul speak, if we could sit back and listen to that, that is energy work, and energy working through us.
Do you have other things that happen in your sessions? Because I feel like you kind of touched on it when you were talking about the way people look at Reiki and energy work, because it's, I'm sure, an ancient practice, and whatever lineage you choose to learn from or whatever. And like the other thing was is that we kind of naturally do that anyways. We're just not aware of that. But it gets there's a mix-up or like a fusion. I don't even know how to explain it, but there's things that happen like on a psychic level or intuitive level or a physical level. And I've experienced all those things, auditory, like all these things that happen. Never the same with anybody. Never, like, I can never go into session and know what's going to happen.
Right.
But do you have you had experiences, or maybe like an instance or a session that something happened and you're like, whoa, this was...
Yeah, so oftentimes in a Reiki session, somebody, usually the client and maybe even me, will feel the presence of somebody there.
Oh, yes.
So, and I feel like that's also another thing, because I'm open to that. I'm open to the non-physical being around. And what I mean by non-physical, maybe somebody that you love that's passed away, a pet, a family member, maybe even an ancestor, somebody that's a little bit further removed. So I've definitely felt that. I've definitely felt the energy shift there. People get a lot of imagery and visualization in a Reiki session. And again, this is why I like to combine it with breath work. And this is why I feel like it's in everything that we do. And so those, and yes, psychic kind of messages. I had no idea that somebody has, had an experience and that, I can get a visualization or a block of thought. I usually like to think of it as block of thought, but I say it is that it's a visualization because I'm seeing it in my mind's eye. But, I have no idea what somebody, especially if it's a client that I've never met before, has been through in their lives. But I may get a block of thought about, something that happened in high school for me. And so I'll relay it in a session and say, this is what's coming up. What came up for me is like a message about something in high school. And they're like, oh my God, I was thinking about that when you were touching this body part. And again, in breath work, those kinds of things come up. But they
really work well together.
Yeah, because when we're doing breath work, so I'll usually touch people's belly, or maybe the chest or the upper part of the collarbone here, maybe even up here, and maybe I'll touch up here, just depending on where the energy is leading me. And so that's why I do Reiki in a breath work session, because the touch that we can give each other, that can be a healing kind of thing, and we automatically do that. When our head hurts, we go like this. That's Reiki. That's energy work, to be honest with you. You don't need to worry about the symbols and all of that. There's symbolism in a Reiki session, and you learn all of those things when you become a Reiki master, and you learn how to attune other people and things like that. But I feel like if you can take those properties of Reiki and what you've experienced in a Reiki session, whether it be somebody's energetic body shifting, whether it be experiencing somebody's loved one there with them, and even somebody who's not passed away, even somebody that's still here in physical form but experiencing their presence in a session. Then you take that information and then you can turn that information and say, okay, well, where do I go from here? Because really that's the work. It's like you can receive all the information you want, all of the energetic cleansing that you want, all of this, balancing, but we still have waves that shift. And so your work then at that point is to decide what you do with this information and how you incorporate that in your life and how you integrate that. But yeah, as far as things happening in a Reiki session, there's been so many countless things. Like I'll pick up on people's energy. There'll be a presence of somebody that they love. There'll be a shift in their energy, and maybe they start feeling a little bit lighter or have some recognition or clarification on something that's going on in their lives.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy exciting. I love it. Let's do would you mind maybe leading just a short breath work thing?
So I don't mind at all. So conscious connected breathing, typically we do that laying down because we're doing that for an extended period of time. But the basis of conscious connected breathing is an open mouth breathing practice. You do an inhale into the belly, an inhale into the chest, and then you let it out. So oftentimes people will put one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest, and sometimes people will do a mudra like you were kind of intuitively going to, so that's fine. And so you open your mouth, and you're going to take an inhale into the belly. You're inhaling into the lower part of the lungs. Inhale into the chest, and then you're going to let it out. And then you're going to repeat, and you're going to keep it connected. So
is it short breaths?
You can do short breaths if you want. You can do a little bit deeper, longer breaths, and you can go way deeper and do that. And so the cadence will really dictate how you feel.
Okay.
So we can do short and then go medium and then go slower. And so you can feel the difference. Okay. So let's do 3 rounds of each.
Okay.
So now let's shift into a little bit of a slower cadence. And so your mouth is already going to start getting dry.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I'm just
You might even start feeling lightheaded too, and that's okay too. So let's go a little bit slower.
Okay.
Let's do one last round with a little bit deeper, a little bit slower, a little bit more intentional. Really feel what it feels like to breathe in. So. Last round. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, it's harder for me to do some of the breath.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because we're switching back and forth,
Yeah.
but also the beeping of that thing was kind of like catching me into, trying to get me into a rhythm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Kundalini, and if you don't know what Kundalini is, you can look it up. But Kundalini breath work and just breath work alone, I feel a lot of stuff happening physically in my body.
Yes.
And like you said before, in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the calmer stuff actually helps to like relax me. This kind of breath would definitely get me feeling some stuff.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, because we're not trying to make the videos super long, I'm going to go to her studio and we're going to do a whole session there. I feel like that for me intuitively is going to be the best result for you to like see somebody experience a session. And she agrees.
Yeah.
She knows. She knows her work. She knows.
Yeah. And, you know, I love that you said that because, you know, there are different methods. And as I mentioned earlier, you get something different each time. And this breathing practice, I really encourage people to really listen to their body, listen to their intuition, listen to what feels right for you. Sometimes throughout the breathwork session, you may need to take the breath a little bit deeper, a little bit fuller. You might even need to take it a little bit faster. Different physical sensations happen in the body. There's physical, mental, emotional, and maybe even spiritual things that could happen in the body. You might feel something that's called tetany, which is the biological reason for that is that the calcium is bonding to the oxygen inside of the body that can cause this cramping in the hands, which is called tetany, but it can also happen in the legs. But there's also spiritual reason
I feel like
behind that.
shaky too.
Yeah.
Like I get, it feels like a blood sugar drop in a way.
Yeah, because we're manipulating the breath. Our breath is so important for so many reasons. And one of the things that our breath does is to help regulate our nervous system. It helps regulate our emotional body. It helps to regulate our temperature in our body. So that's why sometimes people get hot or cold, depending on how fast or how slow they're breathing. Some people feel lightheaded. Some people feel like they're falling or floating. You may even feel like you're outside of your body. There may be a sense of energy running through your body. So it's a very intense breathing technique. There's some contraindications, like if you have heart issues or if you have histories of seizures and things like that, then you should probably do a lighter breathing technique. That's not to say that you can't do breath work, it's just maybe there's a different form of breathing that is beneficial for you. But then there's also some emotional things that can get you feeling maybe sadness, anger, grief, shame, guilt. But on the flip side of that, there's love, compassion, grace, understanding, forgiveness. And there may be these spiritual sensations that I spoke about, maybe experiencing a loved one being there with you. You might see the future. I certainly have. I've seen my studio.
I've seen all kind of stuff.
Yeah, you might see your past self. You might be able to go back in the past and relive a trauma and figure out a way to deal with that in a different way, move forward, kind of like I said with that trauma that I had no idea that I was holding on to. And you get to release it in the breath. Another way to really release and break up this energy that you're feeling in your body is to let out a vocalization, a tone, an om, a yell. I've had people say all kinds of things in a breathwork session, from I love you, why, I hate you, F you.
All kind of profanities.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. And I know that it's usually not directed at me.
Right.
And I know it's never been directed at me. But we have to get these things out. Sometimes it's a really loud yell. Sometimes it's an amen.
A lot of crying.
A lot of crying. A lot of crying can happen. And again, it doesn't always look the same. Sometimes there are tears, sometimes there's not. But I feel like choosing your own music helps you go a little bit deeper. And I've had people submit all kinds of songs from gospel to rock to rap to heavy metal to I've even had this lady who wanted to practice the Quran while she was doing breath work.
Oh.
And yeah, so sometimes people vocalize once or twice. Sometimes people vocalize the whole way through. So maybe inhale, inhale, vocalize, inhale, inhale, vocalize, inhale, inhale, whatever feels right to you, because it's not my breathwork session, it's your breathwork session. I'm here to guide you and lead you, but you are the one that finds the way back to your center, and that's what we're doing in a breathwork session. But yeah, I could activate all kinds of things in the body.
I love what she's doing. I would say that, normally I'll ask, like, what's the typical client? But I feel like, if you watch this video and you feel called to see her, she is in Houston.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of work with a lot of people, and I think she's really, like, honing in to a very intuitive healing experience. Yeah. And like I said, if you feel called to see her, she's does a lot of videos too, and so you can check her out that way. But I will put all her links below. It's Breathe, Connect, Thrive in Houston.
Yeah. And I do things online too as well. So I actually first started off as an online teacher. And so, I've helped people breathe in Australia and Canada and in England. So I would say all across the world, wherever you are. But yeah, so the only thing I don't do online is restorative yoga. But everything else is online and in person. And I also have a breathwork course. So if you're like, I want to do breathwork, but I don't want to cry in front of anybody, check out my breathwork course. You can find all my information just by Googling Breathe, Connect, Thrive. Go to my website, my YouTube channel, Instagram. I'm even on Insight Timer as well.
Yeah. So what is your message for the world, for everybody that's listening?
Love that you asked that. I don't have an answer, but I'll come up with one right now. So my answer to you, if you're listening to this, trust in your intuition. We all have it. Sometimes we get lost and don't know how to find our way back. If somebody like me can turn their lives around and really listen to themselves, and I would have said I was the happiest ever in 2018. But the thing about happiness is that it is transitory. We are human beings here. We are in human form, but we're really spiritual souls here. And if you're missing out on the experience of the joy, the anger, the fear, the guilt, the shame, then you're also missing out on everything else, the love, the expansion, the creativity. So really listen to yourself, listen to that intuitive spirit inside of you. We all have it, and if you need help, here I am.
I'm glad I get to do this and get to meet people like you. Check her out. Keep watching. Share this if you think that you feel like it could help somebody with their life. And until next time, be love and namaste.